stories of giants, race of giants that existed, roamed the earth.
Yeah.
David and Goliath's a real story. The thing about the stories in the Bible, though, it's like these are like mystical giants, the Nephilim, you know?
A 7-meter giant in a museum in Ecuador.
I was just scrolling on YouTube and I saw this and it was very interesting. Joe Rogan talking about how he wishes that there was giants still alive, and he talks about David and Goliath. Absolutely wild stuff. So we're going to be reacting to it all the way through. Let's get right into it.
Here's one that always gets me. Stories of giants.
I want that to be real so bad. I mean, I want all
That
this.
the Smithsonian's been hiding the information. Those are the big conspiracies.
Could be.
Down in their basement, they've got like a 10-foot tall human being. A race of giants that existed, roamed the earth.
Yeah.
David and Goliath's a real story.
David and Goliath.
It just seems like
Maybe it is a real story.
they wouldn't be gone. They wouldn't be the ones that would have been killed off.
Unless, in the cataclysm, like the Younger Dryas impact theory, there wasn't enough food.
Oh,
and they died off, you know? Because if you're that big, you need to eat a lot.
So you think they were around like way long ago?
Way
and
long
died
ago.
off way long ago.
And they have found fossils showing that this person would be around 10 to 12 feet tall. There is proof for that.
Yeah, I don't think like recently, but I think like it is. There's so many stories, and so many cultures have these stories, even in the Bible, of a race of giants.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it couldn't just be big people.
Right.
It seems like what they're talking about is something crazy.
I guess it could be if you're just because if you're just mythologizing. There's no way that's a word, but if you're just turning something that is real, this is the same with like a dragon. People obviously just get inspired by things that are around them. They start to morph into things. I mean, there was no fire-breathing ant.
But okay, I think they were just people, just taller. But also, then there's this spin on House of David saying that they're the sons of Nephilim, and that's why there's giants. The Bible does talk about Nephilims and giants of this world, so that's also very interesting to think about.
Like flying around.
Probably crocodiles. And like that,
crocodiles, and then there are like cobras that spit venom, which obviously gets in your eyes. It's probably gonna burn like a son of a bitch. So like there's like the fire myth. I mean,
and people exaggerate.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like people will take somebody who is a big son of a, and they go, oh well, let's exaggerate and say that the guy he fought was 9 feet tall instead of 6'5".
Exactly,
which he probably was.
Yeah. But also, when you talk about races of these giants, you could also be talking about like people from Iceland, right?
Who were naturally
enormous
big
Viking dudes,
who
were always win those fucking strongman competitions. Those guys there's giants up there, like 400, like the Mountain from Game of Thrones, like that kind of person. So you think about that, like that's that size human,
right?
Anyone who's like even 7 foot tall, they literally look like giants compared to you.
Bunch of those around, and maybe that's what they were talking about, giants. Or there could have been like a specific race of humans. Like they keep finding these additional types of humans. Like they found Denisovans fairly recently, and then that other one that we brought up the other day, the big-headed people. That's fairly recently. They've discovered that this is a completely different branch. That there may, but here's the thing: if they did find those, would they tell us? Like if archaeologists, like who would put the cap on that? If they found like a 10-foot human under like a just gigantic dead human with a huge sword underground.
I think they have, am I going crazy? They have found 10-foot humans. Like, I thought that was pretty well observed, and I'm going to go show you guys at the end of the video of people reacting to this.
Like, would they just say, we're wrong, giants existed? Or would they go, people can't handle this?
That's a tough, because that's the answer to, or that's the question for so many things.
They might say people can't handle it. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
I would say, they probably say.
Isn't that infuriating?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it was you? Now imagine you're out in West Texas, wherever you are, hanging out with your friends, and somebody notices something in the ground, and you start digging, and you pull out a thigh bone that's this big, and you plop it down. You go, what the fuck is that? And then you got a buddy who works at the university nearby, and he starts digging. He's like, hey, dude, this is a human foot. And he pulls out a human foot that's size 38. And you're like, what is going on, man? And so they bring in some experts and like, holy dude, this is a giant. And then they do DNA tests. They find out it's a real actual creature.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm telling everyone.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. The scientists will kill you. They're going to run you off the
true.
road.
Yeah.
I don't think
So, longest, or what I guess would be the tallest
The people have ever found?
that they've ever found. It was found in China. It's supposedly about 4,400 years old. Would have been about 16, 18 years old. The weird thing here is, though, that it says there was 3 drill holes found in the skull, and they don't know why.
How tall was it?
Whoa, drill holes. How big was it?
6'4".
Oh.
No. 6'4". How is that the tallest? That's not what I've heard. I'm going to look this up.
Well, back then, that was probably huge.
Well, you said they found it in China?
Yeah.
That's a giant.
And they're calling it, they call
Right.
it
Well, it
giant.
might be Mongolian, you know?
Well,
I'll
just
just look it
compared
up.
to the Chinese that are found,
Right.
they're probably like, holy. This
Goliath is anywhere from modern day, maybe they say up to 6'6", but like taking the word for word from the Bible, it would have been about 9'9".
Yeah, that's what I always
Right,
thought. That's
right,
what I always
right,
I don't know
right.
how
remember
to see
as
a
a
weight,
kid.
weight size.
Right. Well, if you're back then, nobody had any food, and the average man was probably like 5'4". So if you encounter some dude who's 6'6", some big jack guy, that is a giant.
That's a giant.
And then also, like,
Yeah.
you got to think human beings, if they exist today and they're 6'6", they had the potential to be that big back then. They just didn't get the food.
Yeah.
But if
I'm pretty sure, sadly, in the Bible, they have found in older manuscripts saying that Goliath was shorter than being 9 foot tall. I'll also look that up after this clip.
you are in some very nutrient-rich environment, look at
Yeah.
that.
Ming and
both those guys played pro basketball.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Is it Muggsy Bogues?
Muggsy Bogues, yeah.
But there's smaller people that exist that can function and do stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But what's crazy is that the potential for that guy, the Yao guy, who's, how tall is he?
7'7", I think.
Right, that exists in the human genome, right? That's not like we engineered them like we did dogs.
Right.
Like that exists.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe back then, if you had a ton of food and you didn't have to worry about war, like, and people
Yeah.
just kept breeding and growing and getting nutrient rich, because the thing about people in the past is they didn't have any fucking food, man.
Yeah.
Like the average size of a guy who fought in the Civil War was, I think, 125 pounds or something crazy like that.
5'4" and 120, I think.
No way. That's crazy to think about.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Starving to death.
It's like
Starving to death, shooting people with
It's
muskets.
like a 14-year-old girl. I mean, that's
Nuts.
like, yeah.
Right? And all they needed
Yeah.
was food. You know, you give them protein and then they grow normal sized, which is
Yeah.
really wild.
Yeah. Because there's tons of people that are well over 7 feet. It's
Yeah.
not like it's, I mean, it is an anomaly compared to
Speaking of, there's one guy in the Civil War 7'6". He would have
7'6".
stood out a little bit, but everybody else was 5'8", average.
He was
5'8".
7'6" in the Civil War. Holy shit.
Is that, oh, that's not a picture of him, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
But
never
the
mind.
thing
But yeah.
about the stories in the Bible, though, it's like these are like mystical giants, the Nephilim, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he's talking about the Bible again, which is super cool.
Is
Look at
one
this
of the
guy.
tallest men.
Ohio.
So he's, there you go.
Bro, you do not want
Thomas
to box
Jones,
that guy.
7'6".
7'6".
That's a
well,
big
she
dude.
must be pretty tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
She probably needed to do that big, take care of her.
yeah,
You know what I'm
probably.
saying?
Yeah. She can be in this
The big
5'8"
lady.
guys.
Yeah, she can't be with me.
He's like, what are y'all doing? Yeah.
She'll hold me down. I'll have to fight that lady to the death.
No chance. Yeah.
She needs a big man. She's a
Yeah.
big giant man.
The skeleton of this giant in Ecuador is actually in the museum in Ecuador. Here it is, a 7-meter giant in a museum in Ecuador. We're dealing with real history of this planet that's been removed from us. What the freaking hell is going on here?
7 meter. That's massive.
Land of Giants.
Let's
Due
see.
to a host of incredible archaeological discoveries about its former inhabitants, the Italian island of Sardinia has been referred to by many as the Land of the Giants. In March 1974, a local farmer was plowing his fields on the island's western coast when he stumbled across a large statue fragment that would lead to 8 years of archaeological excavations and investigations. In all, archaeologists recovered more than 5,000 pieces of carved sandstone. They set about reconstructing the pieces and soon realized that they were assembling an army of stone, as these statues were representing boxers, archers, and warriors. Up to 44 individual statues have been found. However, most astounding is not their numbers, nor the identity of their creators, but their sheer scale. These stone giants,
Wow.
up to 2.5 meters in height, and some weigh up to 400 kilograms in their fully reassembled form.
All right. The tallest human skeleton ever discovered in prehistoric China is known to be the Longshan giant. It was discovered in 2006 during the excavation of prehistoric site in Shangun. The skeleton dates back to culture 4,400 years ago. The tallest confirmed human skeleton ever found belonged to Robert, measuring 8 feet 11 inches, 2 meters. While there even been reports of legends over 10 feet tall, most claims are either unverified or based on misidentified animal bones. Oh, shoot. So in the past, some purported giant skeletons were later identified as belonging to other animals, such as Dionethrium, an extinct elephant-like creature. What? A cave in Lovelock, Nevada is associated with legends of giants, and there have been reports of remains discovered there that were claimed to be 8 to 10 feet tall. However, further investigation is ongoing to verify these claims. Wow. Interesting. The Bible describes Goliath as being 6 cubits in a span tall, which is roughly 9 feet 9 inches. However, other sources like the Septuagint and Dead Sea Scrolls put his height at 4 cubits and a span of about 6 feet 9 inches tall. Still really tall. That's also interesting. So there you have it, guys. Super crazy. I encourage you all to go to Jesus and trust in him today. Know that he is good. And I encourage you to know that he loves you so much and he has an amazing plan for your life.